watching The Crow, one of my favorite movies. You know, Brandon Lee's last performance. But, you know, we gotta criticize the crap out of it. So, here we go. Tyler, do you want to start?
I guess we should start with the opening scene that we showed in the first few seconds of the video.
The whole murder of Eric Draven and Shelley Webster.
Love how the cop was tampering with the evidence, smoking at a crime scene where there's already arson fires everywhere. That's really helping the cause.
And then they just let some random ass kid, like, are you related to her? No, but she's like my sister. You said you're not related. Get out of the crime scene. She's about to die.
Yeah.
But no, she'll be alright.
I hate that skateboard. She has a skateboard throughout the movie that pisses me off.
Sarah, the young girl who barely plays any role in the comic book, but manages to make it through the entire movie and a sequel. She stars in the fucking sequel.
We have the comic book with us. Do you want to quickly turn to the page with Sarah's only line?
Sarah's only line, let me see.
Sarah has a particular role in The Crow that is blown up
okay, here we
to
go.
all hell.
Here's a page.
She has
superimposed.
She has how many lines in the actual thing?
She's on, like, seriously 3 pages in this entire book.
She plays a very emotional role in the comic book and in the movie, but
she's not needed nearly as much in the movie. I mean,
she becomes a main character in the movie where she is simply a side villain for the comic.
Right here you can see she's an abused girl, like, very young girl. She isn't no 13-year-old skateboard punk.
I am not saying that Sarah was not necessary to the movie or the comic. She was a very necessary part. But her part that she played in The Crow was not needed to be a main character. Sometimes I feel like the movie was taken strictly from her perspective.
Yeah, very much so. Her main line is, "Bye, Mr. Clown." Bye, Mr. Clown. Yeah. Then they reference that in the movie. Okay, thank God they made a reference. Are you a clown or something?
One of my biggest pet peeves of movies is when they say that they're making a movie based off of something like a comic book
and then
or
they
a book.
Completely kill it.
They kill it. Not only that, but it seemed like the whole movie is just a reference to the book, not actually a movie
about it.
Yeah.
Okay. And, like, their death. I mean, I can see, like, you just need more scenery, so put it in their house rather than just somewhere on the road. But James O'Barr wrote it as a carjacking incident for a reason.
The death of Eric?
The death of Eric. Okay, you don't even really see Eric die in the comic book. Like, he just kind of flatlines and, like, goes on to the next page. But he definitely dies after Shelley. He gets to watch her. That's where all the emotion comes from, being watching that. The movie takes that away. Watching
the movie and reading the comic book, I got 2 completely different feels from the death. I felt like I was more emotionally attached to Eric when I was reading the comic book, simply because of the area where he died.
Mm-hmm.
It was such a peaceful place that it was ironic.
Very. Like the Crow said, don't watch Eric.
Oh, which they never said.
No, the Crow is not tripping on acid in the movie. He's not hearing the Crow talk to him. Even though it resurrected him from the death, he doesn't hear it talk to him. I mean,
he just follows it. He follows it everywhere.
Yep. At least he didn't have the weird cats following him in the movie. That was weird in the comic book.
Extremely. They also did a horrible job with the villains. I'm not sure if you want to emphasize on that.
Okay, biggest example, they added villains. The main villains aren't in the comic book.
They have quite a number of villains already
in the comic book. I mean,
so much so I can't remember all their names. You just remember points where they died.
And then the one villain that they had in the comic book, they actually changed his name in the movie.
Yeah. The one main villain that they had in the comic.
Top Dollar. The actual villain in the comic book becomes Fun Boy, but Top Dollar's still in the movie as some freaky crime lord who likes to do it with his sister. If Tyler, you want to go into that, you enjoyed that scene.
I did not enjoy that scene. That was a very disturbing scene. Considering that she also eats eyes, and they're constantly making out. They have to emphasize the point that they are
a freaky couple.
Yeah, they are lovers.
So
of the.
Yeah, like you kind of get a feeling that they're really close, but it isn't until Gideon is, talking to him and he's, yeah, this is my sister. That's your sister? Ew.
Some problems there.
And I mean, the first time you see them, they raped a girl to death and cut her eyes out. What sick fucks? Yeah.
His invincibility, it's cool to a point. When you have a character that can't die, it takes away from the character, I think.
Yeah. And I mean, if you're gonna have a character that can't die, fully use that. Don't make him dodge shit. Make him take all those knives.
Specifically referring to
Tintin.
Yeah.
Don't you love those names?
Although it was extremely funny, that I kind of feel they kind of were influenced by the comic in the way that they put in sly humor.
Yeah.
He put his knives in his organs alphabetically. It's dark humor, but they use a lot of dark humor in the comic, which I thought was a great throwback.
Definitely. But like we said again, the movie is only a throwback.
Yeah, it was just references to the comic, which took away, again.
I don't know. There's rumors that they're going to be doing a remake, but they're going to have Skrillex play as the Crow. That's going to be awful. Don't do it. We definitely need a reboot, but maybe since we've gone through 3 or 4 directors, 3 or 4 main actors, maybe it's not the time.
I think we're getting ahead of ourselves because we still haven't even talked about the ending of the movie.
I was trying to get ahead of ourselves. I didn't want to talk about that. It's awful.
I know.
The ending's awful.
You can hold yourself now.
Black magic randomly appearing in this series. It doesn't belong here. It doesn't.
At the end of the movie, I'm not gonna spoil the whole thing for you, but basically, he loses his powers and it's a very zombie-like, just fall into the grave and just everything's happy when he dies. Life is beautiful, 6 a.m. moment. It's just perfect, except for the fact none of that happened.
Sarah, because Sarah's suddenly important in this movie, gets kidnapped.
Oh yes. God forbid we leave the 3-page character in a warehouse to get kidnapped or killed. I mean,
it was a church.
What the fucking shit. What about the whole time the concert was playing and it was...
But back to the ending. Like, they kidnapped Sarah so that they could kill the guy that wanted to die. You see my problem here? He was going to his grave to die again.
The movie...
Why'd you have to kidnap her? Why'd you make this deranged psycho that came back from the dead kill you?
The entire character that was Fun Boy, I believe, was a bit unnecessary to the entire story. If Fun Boy wasn't the main villain, they wouldn't...
Top Dollar.
Sorry. Top Dollar wasn't the main villain. They wouldn't have to kidnap Sarah to put a plot device for Eric to go in and kill
his main villain, who really isn't his main villain. Fun Boy is his main villain, but he's really Top Dollar, but Top Dollar's the main villain. And you see the confusion here? Yeah.
The names were confusing enough in the comic book. It's hard enough to keep everybody straight. It's very broken.
It was supposed to be a broken story, but they didn't have to break it that much. And I don't know, I can't talk much more about this awfulness. We may get around to doing the other 3 movies, which get increasingly awful. In my opinion, This was a great movie. I just had to be a critic and kill it. The other 3 movies are awful.
The Crow. We watched The Crow. We took notes. But it seemed like the only things that we could tear apart before the end of the movie was nitpicks and tiny problems, such as a pot of food that was on fire, not under the pot, but inside the pot.
On the stovetop. It just catches on fire. We'll show you that clip. It's great.
Very confusing to me, at least. And the fact that Sarah, that skateboard, I want to break it over her head and then laugh at her when she has no way to ride home.
Speaking of no way to ride home.
Oh my god, I'm not even getting into that.
But
or I'll take Sarah's skateboard and use it instead of my bike.
Well, we gotta snort a mountain of coke, so see you.